participants. So I suggest that we give 2 more minutes for participants to join, and then we will be start if that's okay with all of you. Great. So I think we are ready to start. We have only 1 hour for the briefing, so just asking my colleagues to start recording the session. And yeah, so we are ready to go. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Welcome to this first stakeholders briefing in the lead up to the United Nations High-Level Dialogue on Energy to be held in 2021. This event is convened by UNDESA in collaboration with UN Energy. My name is Nayara Costa. I'm a Senior Sustainable Development Officer at the Division for Sustainable Development Goals at UNDESA, and I'm honored to facilitate this session. Before we begin, I just would like to provide some housekeeping announcements. The call is being recorded, and the link to the recording as well as the PowerPoint presentations will be shared soon and posted at our website. This call includes simultaneous interpretation to Spanish. Please take 1 minute to identify the interpretation icon on the bottom bar of your Zoom application and then select the language you would like to hear. All presenters will be speaking English, but you'll be able to hear the questions and the presentations in Spanish. If you have issues, please flag those on the chat box and my colleagues will support you. Also, participants are encouraged to use the chat and the Q&A boxes to make comments throughout the sessions. The chat will be monitored. We will try to accommodate all your questions and inputs during or after the webinar. They will also be helpful for us in the lead up and planning what is coming in the preparation for the high-level dialogue. So please do remember to indicate your name, your organization, your country, and also if you have a question that is targeting one of the speakers, feel free also to do so if you desire. If you are on tweet, please tweet using the hashtag HLDE2021 for high-level dialogue on energy and tagging @SUSTDev. So without further ado, we'll be starting with our very first panel about the UN High-Level Dialogue on Energy, the rationale, the objectives, and expected outcomes. We are really honored to have the presence, this very distinguished panel, and the presence of Mrs. Damilola Ogunbiyi. She's a special representative of the Secretary General for Sustainable Energy for All. And she's also the UN Energy Co-Chair, and she's also the High-Level Dialogue Co-Chair. So Ms. Damilola Ogunbiyi should be speaking very soon. And also in the same panel, we have Mr. Riyad Medeb. He's Senior Principal Advisor for Small Island Developing States of UNDP. And UNDP is also a co-chair of UN Energy and of the high-level dialogue. They will be sharing a presentation and also remarks. I just want to make sure that Mrs. Ogunbiyi, that you can share your screen and make your presentation. And the floor is yours, madam.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try technology and hope it doesn't fail me. Can everyone see the screen? Okay, so thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And thank especially for UNDESA for convening this really, really important event. And the reason why we're here is that for the first time in 40 years, the UN has decided to dedicate a high-level dialogue on energy. The event is going to be at summit level. We've got 2 co-chairs, Akin Schneider, the administrator of UNDP, and then myself in my capacity. And then we also have as dialogue Secretary General, Mr. Liu, who's the Undersecretary for UNDESA. As part of that, we're going to have an advisory group, and it is all captured under UN Energy member states. And I will talk about this in a little bit more detail. So what are the objectives of the high-level dialogue? There's 7 key objectives. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but I think one of the key things that we can all agree is that we're not on track. and the direct link between energy and climate has not been made for many years. So it's important, along with my colleagues that are going to speak to, for us to come up with new models, new way of doing things, new way of promoting green recovery after COVID, and a lot more stakeholder collaboration as we move forward, because we are in the decade of action, and it's really important that we understand that we have to achieve SDG 7 to be able to even achieve net zero by 2050. And that's really the crux of what we're doing today. So because of that, we've come up with themes, tracks, and outcomes. One of the key themes are energy access, energy transition, energy and the relationships to other SDGs, which right now is very important, especially what's happening with health, capacity building and data, and then finally finance and investment, which is needed for everything. And capacity building and data and finance and investment are cross-cutting themes. The outcome of the whole session is what we're calling energy compacts, which I'll talk about a bit later. And then we're also going to have written products, and all the tracks you see there are meant to feed into the themes to make them stronger, to make sure we are innovative with our recommendations as we move forward. So it's a very busy slide, and you're all going to get it, but it's important for you to understand just how well structured this whole event is, thanks to you and Dessa. We're going to have, under each theme, we're going to have global theme champions, which are going to be led by member states at the ministerial levels within their capitals, and also by the PRs. And then we have multi-stakeholder technical working groups, of which we have co-leads. The co-leads are international organizations, and then the members are members from all walks of life, from youth to civil society to experts within that certain topic. That are we're hoping between now and September come together and really define what the theme is and how we can really kickstart the road to 2030. And then apart from that, we have a group of high-level non-state experts who are going to advising us through the whole process. So this again is just talking about the technical working groups and the energy compacts again. Again, the technical working groups are so important because they help us not just prepare the meeting, but also allow us to produce what we're going to come out and say their actual recommendations that we hope globally will be accepted, and it will be developed by technical experts, but also developed by civil society. So one of the key things again, is, how the working groups are going to work. There's going to be active participating in meetings. And we also are going to, obviously, like you said, ensure that the recommendations are put into a document that we hope will charge the way for the next 10 years, because this isn't just about one event. It's about how we're going to work from now to 2030. Okay, and that brings me up to energy compacts. A lot of people might think, oh, it's the UN, not another compact. But the truth is, there haven't been really dedicated compacts to energy. So we thought it was important to have a dedicated compact in line with the Paris Agreement and the NDCs, working towards what are people's achievements they're going to put down for energy. What is the new boundaries of commitment? It's not that the UN is also part of this process. So it's governments, companies, and cities basically determining. So I'll give you an example in terms of energy access, even though that might not be big in a lot of African countries with climate, but energy access itself is a big issue, and how to solve that and how to make sure that you write the path of what is needed to make sure that you achieve universal access is down. So all of those things are very, very critical and important. I think I'm going to stop on this slide. And a lot of people have been asking what the relationship is with the high-level dialogue and COP26. And the truth is we're really working in sync. Now the COP has been moved to November. We see the high-level dialogue as a pre-event to COP, because one of the key parts of it is the Energy Transition Council of COP, of which I'm also lucky to be co-chair about. And a lot of thinking that we do at the high-level dialogue would also be taken into COP. So we're really fortunate to have the UK government in working with that. And then obviously we would also want to work on the same energy compacts and not duplicate efforts as well. So there's a lot to do, and I've gone through it in a very, very short time because we don't have a lot of time today. But I really look forward to kind of answering your questions that you might have on all the working. And then obviously to my colleague Minoru, who's going to kind of focus on the preparation and what has to be done on the road to there. So just want to say thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to all your questions.
Thanks so much, Mrs. Ogunbiye, Special Representative of the Secretary General. Mr. Medeb, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Damilola. Next year is the high-level dialogue on energy, as Damilola mentioned, and it's an unprecedented opportunity to size and scale up the action needed to achieve the SDG 7. We are far away from reaching all the targets and Paris Agreement in the 10 remaining years. So the UN Energy here will play a critical role, not only in the run-up of the event, but also more critically beyond HLD. Very important for you to play a key role, and it's a huge opportunity facing this current situation where the SDG target, we are far behind. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mr. Medeb. And then again, to all participants, we will be sharing the slides with you, with all the registered. We will be posting it online, so do not worry. You will get all the information and also the recording of the session. If you have questions or specific comments, please use the chat box and the Q&A, so we'll be able to manage. And also, I would invite our speakers to keep an eye also on the chat, so you can also see what type of questions are coming through. But don't worry, we will be flagging them to you as well. Now, moving forward, we want to move to the next session of our webinar, and it's my pleasure also to invite my colleague, Mr. Minoru Takada. He is the energy team leader at UNDESA, and then he is also the UNDESA representative as the high-level dialogue secretariat. So Mr. Takada will be sharing some updates also on the preparatory process and giving a little bit more details about how this is going to happen until the high-level dialogue itself. Minoru, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Naira. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. I can see that close to 150 people are participating today. It's probably the best start in this snowy day in New York City to actually connect with so many parts of the world to discuss opportunities toward high-level dialogue energy. As SRSG Ogunbiye just mentioned, and also my colleague from UNDP, Riyad, also mentioned, it's a historic opportunity because the Secretary the General Assembly has not actually discussed the topic related to energy for such a long time. It's actually 40 years since 1981. So we at the UN system are very excited to support all member states, but do not make a mistake here that the actions on the ground will happen only multi-stakeholders, private sector, businesses, the NGOs, civil societies, academia, all stand up and start doing something. Only then can we actually make a difference on the ground to support the universal energy access, renewable energy efficiency, and of course, net zero emissions toward 2050. That is desperately needed to save this world. So I wanted to go through the slides, and I wonder whether yes, thank you. I had one additional slide, but somehow I probably missed it last minute, but that's okay. And then I go through this one. Okay. So the SRSG just mentioned broadly about overall processes toward high-level dialogue energy. So high-level dialogue energy is going to be organized by the Secretary General at the request of General Assembly at the summit level in September 2021. What does it mean? When we meet with the leadership of the world in September in New York, they will cover the space and time, the date to be determined exactly, but often it is going to be like a 1 day or half day where heads of states will stand up on the podium of the General Assembly and describe their action and commitments and their ambition toward achieving clean energy future. And that is what we're expecting in September 2021 in New York. Here then, details are going to be decided upon once we know a little more about 2021 schedule, which is a little dependent on how the COVID-19 situation will unfold next couple of months. So we hope to be able to get back to all of you once we know better about September 2021 arrangements. But we know what we want in the dialogue. In the dialogue, we want to have member states at the highest level to have very strong statement and their own action commitments to achieve SDG 7, which is in trouble because of the many situations that we're facing, but also looking next 30 years, we have to go toward net zero emissions future. Energy has a lot to do about it. So that's what we're expecting. But then we also want, a strong statement to be captured in the form of summary that is going to be made by the Secretary General. That makes us up, broadly a roadmap toward 2030 to achieve SDG 7 energy targets. By that time, we want to make sure there's enough global momentum raised in the form of lots of actions, voices, and support coming from all over the world. That is you. So that is why we are making preparatory processes as inclusive as possible. So we're working under the sort of guidance of the UN Energy co-chairs who are acting as dialogue co-chairs, Mr. Steiner and Mr. Ogumbi, working tirelessly together with ourselves at the Secretariat under the guidance of Under-Secretary General Liu, who are acting as the Secretary General for the dialogue. So let me explain a little bit about preparatory processes. There are basically two large sort of the processes here. One, which we are starting just now, it's a technical preparations. So in order to actually bring the substance into the dialogue processes, as Mr. Ogumbi mentioned, we are going to establish 5 multi-stakeholder technical working groups. Why 5? Because there are 5 focus themes for the high-level dialogue energy. Let me repeat that one. Energy access. Number 2, energy transition. Number 3, energy action to advance other SDGs. Number 4, capacity building and data. And number 5, finance and investment. So these are the 5 themes of the high-level dialogue energy. And then accordingly, we're going to establish technical working group for each of the 5 themes. These are multi-stakeholder based. UN Energy co-chairs along with Secretariat sort of right now looking at potential experts to join technical working group, which we hope to be established by early January. So in January, the work is going to kickstart. What are we actually expecting from the technical working group? Technical working group, they will have to discuss opportunities, challenges, but very importantly, establish some form of broader roadmap toward achieving SDG 7 in their own thematic areas. For example, if it is energy access, we have roughly 800 million people who do not have electricity globally, and close to 3 billion people are still cooking without clean cooking technologies and fuels. Now, SDG 7 target is very clear: universal access to modern energy solutions, universal. So you can see that we are really challenged. Next 10 years, we have to meet those things. We want a technical working group on energy access to come up with their own expert recommendation as to how to achieve it. So that's the one that we're describing. We are sort of expecting from technical working group. Accordingly, for other 4 thematic working group, we want them to come up with a very solid, bold, ambitious recommendations that can be compiled in the form of roadmap toward 2030, in some cases looking at 2050. Now, in addition, we want technical working group by themselves, but also by working with partners of the technical working group to bring lots of actions. Some of you are very familiar with UN processes, so you are very familiar with the voluntary commitment processes and the partnership arrangement. That's exactly what we want this time as well. We want everybody to stand up and bring actions, voluntary commitments, a lot of partnership in support of achievement of SDG 7, in line with some of the discussions technical working group will be coming up to recommend what we have to do by who. So that's what we're expecting during the technical working groups discussions, and that period, stretching from January, probably getting into the early second quarter of next year. So 3 months to maximum 5 months. During that period of time, technical working group will have to come up with those things, and we need to reach out to all stakeholders like we're doing today, that's the beginning of it, to mobilize more actions. We'll come back to that about how you could actually contribute the voluntary actions in this way. Now, we are moving now after technical working group to the more ministerial level discussions. And here then, we are going to have ministerial thematic forum, again, around 5 things. Now, we have to provide some input to the ministerial level discussions. So to do that, technical working group would have produced 5 technical working group reports. That become the basis for the ministerial thematic forum. But in addition, in order to be sure that we have a bit of macro synthesis in a way to integrate across all thematic issues, we're going to have UN interagency report for the high-level dialogue on energy, which is going to be compiled with the support of UN Energy. So in this way, then, in addition to 5 theme-based reports, we'll have a kind of broader catch-all, somewhat so that, oriented toward the policy makers. So there will be some form of synthesis of those 5 reports that is going to form one interagency report. That also become input into ministerial thematic forum. Ministerial thematic forum, as it said, thematic forum, so it's going to be 5 themes, again, 5 forums. There will be what we call global theme champions. There are the member states at the ministerial level. We are expecting to have global theme champions to be announced also in January. They will also serve as hosts of thematic forum at the ministerial level, which will be convened jointly by dialogue co-chairs, which are UN Energy co-chairs, and also dialogue secretary general, which is under secretary general of DESA. So in this way, then we try to bring political forces together to discuss challenges, but also again serve as a platform for announcing lots of actions. Here then, outcome of the forum is going to be the summary of the ministerial thematic forum. That will be the main input into the high-level dialogue energy in September. But also ministerial thematic forum, we expect them to serve as a global platform to launch many energy compacts actions. Energy compact, the SRSG just mentioned, these are sort of broadly a voluntary commitment and the range of partnerships that drive actions toward 2030 and beyond. So we're expecting your energy commitments to energy compact to be brought together before that time. And we want to open up a space for you to be able to showcase energy compacts in a variety of ways. And a detail, obviously, we'll discuss, and then we come back to you in the subsequent briefing to come over the many months to come. Now, during that period of time, we are very committed, and thanks to Lotte and Naira, we'll be organizing and reaching out to all multi-stakeholders. Today is the beginning, but rest assured that this is not the last. We are going to have so many of them. I just put the sort of breadpoints down there, but that's not going to be the limit of the number of consultations. As many as we need it. It could be that in some cases, because of the time differences we are working on there right now, we may have to target region by region, or language by language, or stakeholder by stakeholder, depending on how we see most efficient at that point in time. But we are very committed to be working with all of you to get your input and consult you, but also encourage you to bring your own action. So we'll be able to bring significant momentum toward high-level dialogue September, but very importantly, that is not going to be the end. September is going to be the beginning of huge actions during the decade of action to achieve SDGs next 10 years. And SDG 7 must be part of, if not the arrowhead of that decade of actions moving forward. That's the objective of the dialogue in September. Next slide, please. Okay, so all what I said are already on the website of the High Level Dialogue Energy, which I just pressed here, and then you can see a lot of documentation there. We continue to keep posting many information, including the presentation that we are using today. And then if there are any questions you have, there's a generic the email address that I also listed here. You'll be able to reach us, and we try our best to answer your queries through that. Thank you very much, Naira. Back to you.
Thanks so very much, Minoru, for this presentation. And to all the participants, again, don't worry, we are gonna share with you the PowerPoint. We're gonna send the link to you. To all those who registered, you're gonna receive, it will also be posted. As Minoru was saying, this is our very first briefing with stakeholders. We're very honored to also have the co-chairs of UN Energy with us, so we can also ask questions and also flag issues of concern. We and because this is also a briefing, it is the point where we are sharing the information that we have with you at this stage. We are also, through your questions on the chat box, we are checking for ideas, suggestions, inputs, or things that are concerning you as well. To those that are following in Spanish, if you have questions or comments in Spanish, please feel free to post them on the chat box. We can also address your questions. I will be sharing more links before we close the webinar, but we still have, now we have a little bit of time to go through questions. I see that, and I see that there are questions about how many participants we have. We have almost 160 people connected to this call today. So thanks very much to all of you who took time to join us. And there, I see that we are receiving two types of questions. We have some questions about the process and the high-level dialogue itself, and then we have some questions that are more substantive and technical. I'll see if we can address this, the process questions first, and then considering the panel that we have, I'll see if they can also address or give some hints or inputs on the more substantive questions that are coming through. So let me just see. So there is one question here on if there will be any role that WTO will be playing in the process. And the person is saying because there are synergies between trade and tackling climate change and trade, and those can be also used to enable the deployment of cleaner energy and technologies. Just want to see if any of the panelists, if there is any answer already about the engagement of WTO at this stage.
Well, I'm not going to speak for Manora, but we would really like WTO to be part of the process. We've also seen that there's a role in terms of large-scale procurement of renewables, especially in the countries that need them to drive down the cost of doing projects. So if it's something that WTO would like to be involved, we would really like to welcome that. And I'm just going to pass on to Manora to check if they're actually involved with the process.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Naira, and thank you for the question. I mentioned this is a sort of multi-stakeholder, very inclusive process. And then at the United Nations, there's a sort of network called UN Energy. I don't know whether you have heard about it, but it is a network of UN entities who are working on the energy issues, here and there. So we can actually have, all the coordinated support to the process. Now, this UN Energy, which is chaired by the UNDP and SRSG, actually include about 30 UN organizations. So this brings together quite a number of UN organizations working on this one as a capacity, including organizations like World Bank. And then also it is also partnering with organizations like International Renewable Energy Agency. So you can see that, it's a sort of great network already existing to support. WTO and other UN entities are very welcome to support. In fact, Under Secretary General Dessa actually sent a notification to the entire UN system, informing of the opportunity of the high-level dialogue energy already, And some of the UN entities expressed interest in being kept informed or supporting the high-level dialogue energy. So we look forward to working with all UN entities who are very interested in supporting this event.
Thanks very much, Minoru and Mrs. Ogumbi. So there are two questions that are coming through is if we already have information about the mechanisms for grassroots NGOs to join the multi-stakeholder working groups, and they are referring especially to those working on SDG 7 interlinkages and the nexus of energy and health and energy and women empowerment. And there is a connected question if there will be a process for participants to express interest in being part of the technical working groups. Perhaps, Minoru, if you could just elaborate a little bit more about the working groups and then, if possible, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. On the website, we shared two documents. One, what we call concept note for the high-level dialogue. Another one we call note on thematic consultations. These are meant to be explaining about overall processes related to high-level dialogue energy, but also want to be sure that we are actually giving the information transparently as much as possible to member states and all stakeholders. And in the thematic note on thematic consultations, we explain the processes with regard to the selection and establishment of variety of the arrangements that SRSG Ogumbi today explained in the slides that include the global champions and also thematic the technical working groups. On the part of technical working groups, as I mentioned, there will be a core lead organizations, which are mainly coming from UN Energy Organization and the family. In addition, there will be a select number of the members coming from all corners of the world, all corners of the stakeholders. And as I hope that we'll be able to include 1,000 people in each of the technical working group. But at the same time, we also have to be a bit more practical and realistic. So in this sort of situation, we are looking at the entire sort of space and then doing a kind of long listing processes as we speak. And then keeping in mind that we have to be also balanced geographically, constituency-wise, also importantly also gender. And we are coming closer to the toward the end of the process, and with the hope that in January we'll be able to get the technical working group get started. And I know that that is not going to satisfy 1 million stakeholders out there who are willing to be contributing to that process. So that is why, with the support of Naira and Rota's team, and then with support of all the entire UN system, including UNDP, which is a very large network at the country level, we are going to make sure we're going to reach out to the constituencies at variety of levels to be sure that even if you may not be part of the technical working group, there will be an ample space for interactions to come.
Thank you so much, Minoru. And I just want to add, because we will be supporting on the stakeholder engagement, we will be doing all that we can to facilitate and create additional space. So the inputs and the suggestions can come also to the members of the working group. And the interesting thing about this high-level dialogue is that there's so many layers of preparatory work that I think as stakeholders you will need to check the ones that will be more strategic and meaningful also to you. But on our side, we will be sharing, and I'll be giving you more information about how to keep connected and how to receive this information as the process unfolds. Also because we are preparing and supporting a high-level event that is historical because of the timing that the theme is coming to the General Assembly at its highest level, but it's also historical in the way that we will be preparing this event and all the challenges the additional challenges that we will need to face and the creativity that we will need. But we will be counting also on our stakeholders to support us on this, on ideas and suggestions to move forward. I have a question here about youth and youth organizations, and just wanted to check if they are asking about the participation of youth, both in the high-level dialogue itself and also in the preparatory work. And perhaps panelists could elaborate a little bit about this.
Obviously, youth is key to everything we're doing. So they will form part of the working groups and even the advisory council as well. It's important to have especially the youth entrepreneurial voices as well, because they're doing amazing things in clean energy. So be rest assured, the youth and some key organizations will also be part of the process.
This is a very inclusive process in terms of consultation and for elaborating energy compacts. So all will be included in the discussion and in the 5 thematic working groups.
Wonderful, thank you so much. There is a question here that is coming through, through several partners and participants, is if it's possible to elaborate a little bit more about how the outcomes of the high-level dialogue will deepen the links between energy access and energy mix transition, and given that the connection with the COP 2016 just following after that, and if you could also give a sense of how foundations and the philanthropic sector can engage and support a high-level dialogue.
Well, I'll take the one on energy access and transitions, and then I'll move it on to my colleagues for how people can engage. It's very important from the onset that we recognize that energy access is part of the energy transition story. So I think that's one of the key differences with this high-level dialogue. It's not one or the other. It's making sure that the energy access story is a clean story, not just for electrification, for also clean cooking, and almost building up what is the low carbon trajectory from now to 2050. But like I said before, it's also important that SDG 7 universal access needs to be achieved as part of the transition story. So that's a very, very key focus for us, and we'd want the teams to be working on recommendations how to accelerate that and make sure it happens. I'll now pass on to Minoru for the rest of the question.
Thank you very much for the question. In fact, I skipped one slide that was quite an important slide, in fact. And then, as Sarah just mentioned, we are also going to see this energy dialogue as one of the macro processes to push the SDGs on the Paris Agreement, obviously. So I think how the energy dialogue preparatory processes relates to what is happening globally, it's going to be very important. So we'll make sure to add one slide to sort of showcase that one. But the planning is that, throughout the preparatory processes, we'll be linking to the major ongoing processes, such as on oceans, transport, then biodiversity, and of course, the climate change. COP26 is coming up immediately after that. Then there are concurrently many processes going on, and we are reaching out and working together with them to make sure all those things are going to be synergized. With this in mind, we would also like to appeal to you that in case you have some engagement that you are planning in your own constituencies, whether it is around the philanthropy, youth, or or the gender, or anything that you think high-level dialogue or energy processes may be of support to what you are trying to do, we want to know it, because we would like to provide our part of the support, but also we would like to invite you to be able to join our preparatory processes to make sure we'll be able to catalyze those energetic opportunities to push both agendas together.
Thank you so very much. We have a question here about if you have views on how social enterprises and innovators working in the energy access space, what role, or if you see space for them to engage in the high-level dialogue.
As we said many times, this is a truly inclusive process, and that's the reason why we're even having this outreach. Will be more than, ideally we'd want everybody in every working group, but that's not necessarily the most constructive way. but through this dialogue, getting your points across, sending us information, sending us, your requests, so we can put it forward, is really important to us. And there will be key people, even in social enterprises, as part of the dialogue. But it's important that we just continue this inclusive, dialogue, really, on how we can keep going. And we're really looking forward to hearing from everybody on how we can really make this event as significant as it is, but not just the day of the event, how we make the next 10 years significant, and how we track the benefits of actually achieving some key goals in SDG 7.
Thank you so much. I see more questions about the technical working groups. Perhaps, I think perhaps Minoru, you would be able to give a little bit more of details. You mentioned that there'll be TORs, and the question is, would there be like a template that all groups will need to follow? Is the calendar going to be similar? Are they going to present reports that will follow a same structure and process, or or will they be more free to deliver? So if you could elaborate a little bit more. Also, I want to check, are the members of the working groups, are this going to be also published and shared online? Is this also foreseen?
So I will start, and then obviously I'll ask SRSG and also Riyadh, and then also Marcel is online, so I'll ask UNDP colleague as well to come in. With regard to technical working groups, I think we are looking at relatively short period of time, against, let's say, quite a magnificent challenge that we need to be tackling. So we're looking at in the span of 4 or 5 months, I think, broadly speaking, for the technical working group sort of timeline. So in order to be most productive, we think appropriate to have some form of consistency and uniformity. We don't have the details right now to show it to you today, but we're working with colleagues here to have some sort of broader guidance to the technical working group processes, to be sure that there will be an orientation given to them, and then there will be also expected outcome that is sort of shared, and expectations are kind of understood from the beginning. So that is how we are going to be seeing. Now, I mentioned about a website for the high-level dialogue energy. There will be a dedicated space for the technical working group. We of course try to ensure to publish all the names of the technical working group members, contributors, co-lead organization, and all those things as much as practically possible to do so. In addition, because we are having this sort of multi-stakeholder outreach and consultations in this virtual way, or who knows, that the 6 months down the line, we may be lucky to have in hybrid situations. So we'll make sure to have a dedicated space to recognize those consultations on the website. So we'll be able to demonstrate, sufficient level of interaction, knowledge exchanges moving forward. Because this is not just for the process. I think this is going to be useful for the entire world who want to actually act on their own as well. I'll stop here, and then there may be some additional points coming from SRSG or Riyadh.
I think Minoru has covered everything. We're spending a lot of time building up the secretariat so we can have the uniformity that Minoru has spoke about. But we don't want to kind of stifle information and innovation. We are not going to prescribe what is going to be the outcome. We really want it to be a joint, inclusive way of developing, what we hope we will implement for the next 10 years.
And in addition, what Minoru said, everything will be on the website and very transparent, and we welcome any contribution, because what our SRSG on us is, it goes beyond the high-level dialogue. Is for the next 10 years, is really achieving the SDG 7. So all contribution and the more inclusive participation is needed. So we need really to increase our participation and go into action.
Thank you so much to the SRSG, to Mr. Medeb, to my colleague Minoru for sharing, for your exchange. I see that we have questions, but I think the other questions are really guiding us on some of the themes of interest for that stakeholders are bringing. We will be kind of compiling some of those topics and sharing with you later on as well, so you can get a sense of what was coming through the dialogue. And I think perhaps we can. This is really a short briefing because it's the very first one. We will be, as Minoru was saying, and colleagues, and we will have more. Perhaps we can, and then I'll just share a few more slides with additional information with you that you can be connected. So we at the high level dialogues page, there is a dedicated space for stakeholders, and this is where we will be publishing information of interest for stakeholder participation. So please do take a look at that. The link is on the slide. I'll be also asking my colleagues to post them online for you. We created a dedicated mailing list for stakeholders. This is, all the information that we receive that we can share with you. We will be using that mailing list. So I really recommend you to be there, and we will be also sharing anything related to energy. We usually use those the mailing lists also to share information. So please do make sure that you register so you are connected to the more tailored framed information for stakeholder participation. Then moving to the next one. So my colleagues have also are developing a newsletter about the high level dialogue. So this is also very important. Stay tuned, stay updated, register to that one. This one is really broader. They go also to member states and to media and whoever is interested. So, but it will be another channel, another space for you to get information about the high level dialogue and the substantive arrangements and everything in the lead up to the conference. So this is another way for you to connect. The next one, please. I just want to call attention to something that is not related to the high level dialogue, although it is. It's a process that we have opened at TESA for good practices on SDG implementation and success stories. All of you are invited. I know there are so many good stories out there. So register. We are very keen on getting a good number of practices on SDG 7 as well. Things that are working, solutions, ideas, and things that can be replicated as well. So my colleagues will be posting the link and details. So this is something else that you can use and engage, another process for you also to engage. Moving forward, so this is just a little bit about the good practices. You will have more, you will get the slides, and then you can get more details about this as well. And just finally, again, this is the link to the website, to the conference website, the high level dialogue website. And as all the presenters were saying, this is where you will be able to find all the information up to date in the lead up to the conference, to the high level dialogue. I just want to see if the speakers, if they want to say like 30 seconds of a final message. And I think I will start with Minoru, then Riyad, and then finishing with Mrs. Ogundi, if it's okay. So Minoru, 30 seconds for you.
Thank you very much. This is a really productive conversation that we started. And I hope that we will continue these conversations next 10 months. And then most importantly, as our colleagues mentioned, that we are just laying the ground for the next 10 years of actions. So the preparation is really to prepare not for the September event as such, but it is really preparing for the ground and systems for the next 10 years to scale up actions. So I hope that we'll have an opportunity to work with all of you to bring more actions from your side and be able to sort of have a very constructive discussion next for months to come. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Minoru. Riyad?
First of the current situation and the complication we are facing, it is very important that we increase our action and we have ambitious actions for responding to SDG 7. So as Saraji has explained, is beyond the HLD and September event, it's going for the next 10 years. Thank you for all your participation.
Thanks very much. And finally, Mrs. Ogumbi.
I'd like to agree with everything the Menorah Riyadh said, but I'd like to touch on something a little bit personal, because this year has shown us that we've probably gone backwards on our targets. That means we have more people without access to electricity, we have more people without access to clean cooking. That is, you know, billions of people that just can't stay at home during this COVID time. They can't go on the internet like we do. And, you know, we have to stop seeing as energy as an inconvenience. It's a difference between life and death for many, many people around the world. So it's just really, really important for us to hear from you, for you to be part of us in trying to find a lasting solution for this. Again, thank you all, wherever you are in the world, for listening, and just look forward to the engagement over the next few months.
Thank you so very much to all. And we hope to see you very soon in the next briefings, and information will be shared soon. Thank you again, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.